finally got a break in the rain so we can try out some projections. So, while I was at Transworld, I was meeting with the folks over at BenQ Projectors, and they loaned me this unit that I could try out and show you what it can do. BenQ's the first major manufacturer that I know of that is having a focus on projection mapping. Optima and some of the others, I haven't seen an effort from them yet to try to target our unique hobby. BenQ was there and wanting to listen to projection mappers and find out what they need and what they want in a projector, and then try to provide something that would meet their needs. So they loaned me this one. This is the BenQ LH850ST, and I actually did a side-by-side of this with my Optima that I use, the 406 if I remember right, and I took some video of the side-by-side that I'll put at the end of this, and then you can kind of see how it compares. The specs are pretty typical for what you'd want for residential projection mapping. It has it's a 1080p, so 1920 by 1080. It's 4,000 ANSI lumens, and one thing I didn't realize, actually, some of the other projector companies are no longer using ANSI standards for their lumens. They're using their own proprietary or some other standard, but BenQ is still sticking to ANSI lumens, so it's 4,000 true lumens. A couple of other unique features that they talk about that I would like to test out is these little cameras in the front. Helps it to autofocus, which might be kind of nice. So I want to play with that a bit. Another thing that I think is useful for projection mapping is most of our short throw projectors, they were designed to hang upside down from a ceiling so you can project on a wall for like a home theater or a classroom or something like that. And because of that, the beam doesn't shoot straight out of the lens, it shoots up at an angle. And the projectors I've used so far shoot pretty steeply up, which means in order to get it square on the surface of my house, I have to tip the projector pretty aggressively far forward to cover the whole house. And my projector set up to clear all the shadows and stuff on my house, I had to put it about 5 feet up, which meant it was an even steeper angle, and then that made it difficult for for keystoning and things like that. So theirs has less of an offset, which just means you don't have to tip it as much. So that'll be kind of nice. A couple of other things they highlighted for me when I was talking to them at the booth. It has some features that I'll have to look up exactly what they are and play with it a little bit. Some higher functionality for keystoning, I think, some corner fit and keystoning, digital image shrink and shift, which I'm not even sure what that is yet, but we'll see if we can test it and figure that out. Also, if you're using multiple projectors, they have a white balance adjustment that should make it easier if you have two projector beams right next to each other to make the seam more seamless, to make that edge more seamless. So if I had two of these side by side, then I could probably test that out. But those are some of the things they highlight, and so I'll put in the video the side by side comparison, and I'm going to use it tonight too for testing the Illumibot that I've been talking about too. Got an Illumibot at Transworld as well, so we'll use the Illumibot with this projector and throw it on the back of my house. Okay, looking at a few of the settings here. So the keystone thing that might be useful. Some projectors have up and down keystoning, which as I adjust it, you can see what that does. As you're positioning the projector to making sure that it's square to the house, you can change the keystone settings to adjust that. And a lot of them will have vertical keystone like this, but this one also has side to side, which is kind of cool. So let's get this mostly square, and let's look at some of the other settings we've got here. Okay, and it looked like some of the settings I had to plug something in to be able to see them, so and just found some random YouTube ambiance. So some of the other settings, the picture mode, there's probably going to be something similar to this on your projectors, whichever projectors you're using. They'll have some preset options, and you can try those till you find the one that looks best combination of brightness and color. So as I cycle through those, this is cinema, that one's for gaming. That's a bright one, so if you want to make it look brighter, it's maybe a little more washed out. This is simulation, cinema, so you can try those on this projector or in whatever projectors you have. Play with that setting to find the one that looks best. And then light source mode, looks like you can do a couple of other settings, so I think I'd want to leave that on normal. Looks like it's the brightest. And it has a brightness setting. Let's crank. If I crank it up too much, yeah, it gets brighter, but then it starts washing out the picture too. So this is another setting that you could test out on this or any other projector to get that sweet spot where it's bright but not too bright. And maybe the combination of the brightness and then the picture mode, if I did something like cinema but then brighten that up, let's see what that does. Yeah, I think it still looks better at just regular bright picture mode. I think that's the one I'll probably use. I don't know. I'll do bright tonight just so we can see it clearly on the video. Okay, I am going to now position this so it covers the whole house and see how things look. So now that it's fully dark, when I start projecting things on the wall, the bright is very much washed out. So simulation, that really pops. That looks fantastic. Let's try cinema. Cinema's still too bright and washed out. Game and simulation look really good. I think I like the simulation one. So let's play this video. And I'm going to step back away. What we're going to do here is a side-by-side comparison. I've got two projectors out here. One is the one I'm using right now for my main show. It's the Optima ZH406 ST. So that's on the left. And then on the right is the new BenQ. Don't have the model number in my mind at the moment, but I'll find that. If you've seen some of my videos on how to synchronize projectors with that device that splits the display, I'm just using that. And I haven't bothered to spend a lot of time to position the projectors. So you can see the seam right here is not clean. And the left projection is kind of angled at the side. So, and I didn't fill up the whole side of the house on the right. So the positioning of the projector is not where I want it, but that's not going to be the point. The point of this is just so we can look at them side by side, the exact same video, same image, simultaneously, and see how they do. And as I've been running this, just as I've been talking, then you can kind of see both projectors are the same resolution. They're very close on lumens. So the Optima on the left is 4200 lumens, and the BenQ is 4000 lumens. So at a glance, they look really close. They're both laser projectors too. So they both look good, they both look amazing. I picked this kind of random AI video because it's got lots of different colors that we could look at. And I have a hard time seeing the difference between the two. They both look great. So let's get a little closer and see what the colors look like. Nice, bright, vivid colors. It's not completely dark out yet. And got a seam here so that you can see side by side. Got a little bit of an overlap here. The other thing I thought we'd check is the pixelation. Probably hard to see on here, but if you can see it, there'll be little tiny squares for the pixels. But the fact that you can't see them real obviously is actually a good sign. The resolution's good on these. So there you go. I think that's all I'm going to test tonight. A couple of other features that I wasn't able to test out, at least not yet, but wanted to go over them so we can think about how it might help us in our mapping. I mentioned the white balance adjustment, and so this slide I got from BenQ, I think, explains it as explains it pretty clearly. You know, if you have two projectors that are synced up, if there's slight differences in the colors that you have or the whiteness between the two, then it helps balance that, as opposed to this projector that they're comparing it to a ViewSonic, where there will be slight differences between the two images. So you have to make adjustments and compensate for those differences if it doesn't have that white balance adjustment. So if you have more than one projector, maybe that would help. Maybe that would help eliminate some of the differences. On this slide they have, it talks to you about the autofocus features. So instead of having a dial on the side of your projector on the top, then there's a button you can push and it will autofocus. And this is regarding the offset that I already talked about, that angle that the beam has to be adjusted for by tipping your projector. This might be one of the things I like most about this projector, even though it's something small, is I won't have to tip my projector quite so steeply. Because as I mentioned, for my house, I had to get the projector up pretty high, which meant I had to tip the projector pretty aggressively. So having less of an offset, nice small thing, but it's an important thing for me. And here is side-by-side specs if you want more details. You can pause the video and you can kind of look through the side-by-side between the BenQ and this model of ViewSonic that is comparable. So I won't go into that with detail, but feel free to pause and look at this as much as you want. Here's some of the other image adjustment features that I have not seen in the projectors I've used before. Autofocus we talked about. The screen fill aspect support, I think, is for if you don't want to use 16:9. I probably wouldn't use that. I'll probably just leave that alone and stick with my 16:9. This part might be worth testing out. There's some additional functionality for adjusting the image. The corner fit, as I understand it, you can, on the projector itself, match the angle or the perspective of a wall. I haven't used something like that before. It might still be better, probably still is better to do it in your mapping tool like Adobe After Effects or DaVinci, but that might be interesting to kind of test out. And digital image shrink, I think that's a setting where you can, I think both the shift and the shrink are if your projector positioning has changed a little bit, then it has some ways to adjust that, at least in little ways. So like if your image is off a little bit, the digital image shift can bump it to the left or the right or up and down just a little bit. So if you're interested in seeing some of these features, then go ahead and let me know or put it in the comments and I can do a follow-up video to see how these do. My initial thought is I'll probably just keep using Adobe After Effects to accomplish a lot of this stuff, but let me know if you want me to look at that. And here is another side by side that has some other projectors, including the Optima, which is very similar to the one I have. And you can see how they stack up. I think the ones I'm most interested in, throw ratio, but as long as you have a short throw projector, then that's going to be mostly the same. The brightness, I was surprised, as I mentioned earlier, that Optima no longer does ANSI lumens. So I like having it be true ANSI lumens. Autofocus might be kind of cool. We'll see how I like that. External power supply as opposed to having that little brick as part of it. Another small detail, but something I still like is the power cord that came with it. It was nice and long. Sometimes those short cords, it can be a pain. And then it is priced lower than the Optima 2 a little bit. So my final thoughts after playing with this a little bit and testing it out, it's comparable on most of the main features and specs with the other projectors I've used, like the Optima. And so it's definitely a strong choice for projection mapping. The color and brightness is all on par. It is priced a little bit lower, which is nice. And there are some of these nice to have features that might make our lives a little easier, like the offset, the autofocus, maybe those image adjustments. So those are nice to have. Um, so probably the biggest pro that I see, the biggest plus with BenQ is, as I mentioned at the beginning, that they're actually listening to us and seeking feedback and wanting to know what it is that we need for projection mapping. And so I'll play with this some more and I'll always trying to gather input on where our pain points are and pass that on to the BenQ folks. So if there's things you want me to try out with this projector, let me know. And if there's other features you'd like to request, put that in the comments as well. If there's like an onboard video player, for example, a lot of these larger projectors don't have a way to play the video. We have to get an external video player. So maybe something like that. But what are your biggest pain points for projection mapping when it comes to the projector? And what features might you like to see? Put that in the comments, then I can pass that feedback on to them before I give this projector back to them. So let me know if there's anything else you want to see.